multi-level marketing. Is what God is going to allow us to use so that His promise will be fulfilled. But the only way for God's promise to be fulfilled is if we do exactly what God has asked us to do in order to receive a promise. We must use God's math in business by allowing our minds to accept that principle of allowing God to be the CEO. If God is the CEO, then whatever you touch will prosper. You touch it, God will water it, and it'll grow. But God has to touch it first. In Genesis 1, 26, 27, 28, the gist of the whole, those three verses in Genesis 1, 26 through 28. It says, in the beginning God created man in the image of Him He created them, male, female. And He blessed them. And He told them to go out, be fruitful, and multiply. We that are in leadership positions, if we are not multiplying prosperity into the lives of the people, then our leadership is in vain, because when God is in it, then we'll win it, because God doesn't make any mistakes. And if we're not successful, it's because we haven't been doing what God say do. President Barack Obama put out a plea to the preachers for us to help. And the reason why he asked us to help is because we're supposed to have a hookup. Surely we got to hook up to God. But poverty is growing, so God isn't in it. God doesn't grow poverty. He grows prosperity. So if prosperity isn't growing the people of God in high, period, the people of God. If prosperity isn't growing the people of God, then Satan is growing the poverty of God. There always has to be a direct opposite of the other in order for blessings and God's manifestations to be made manifest unto us, His people. But leadership has to give to the people so that they'll grow financially, and in this day and time can stop worrying about other things like bills, rent, mortgage, because they'll be blessed by God. God has to be the one to step in and do something miraculous that hasn't ever been done before, and that's what he's getting ready to do now. Today, that's what he's doing. But you all, the leaders of God, we have to be teaching the people of God God's system of mathematics and growth and prosperity and wealth, which to God isn't anything. But why so difficult to us? Because we won't do what he say do. We won't let him be the CEO. We're the most powerful force in the universe. God gave us that permission. And we won't even allow God to be the CEO of our business. This is an exciting day that we're in right now, because God has stepped on the scene in a manner that is so beautiful. He allowed Barack Obama, an African American, to become president when all the other presidents was white. It has to be a balance set. Isn't it ironic that not only he's the first black, he's black and white. It's a balance there. He was placed in a position of president to the United States of America. Heritage, once slave, now leader. The balance is met. Everything placed in a position at a time that was terrible. But God stepped in. God stepped in. And he says, the leaders will stop feeding themselves and start feeding my flock. There has to be a principle that we follow as leaders, all of us, that will lead the people of God out of poverty, out of the middle class to the upper class, out of the lower class to the middle class. God has the answer, and it's so simple. All we have to do is just make up in our minds and say, we're just going to allow God to be the CEO of this business. All of us who love the Lord, we know what's right and what's wrong. And we know what's God and what's not of God. But we don't care about what's not of God, because what's not of God has to exist so that of God can exist. Got to keep that balance. The worst of times and the best of times is right now.